My brothers and sisters, the word of the Lord is stop pulling your family into mess. Stop pulling your family into mess. Because you're mad at somebody don't mean everybody got to be mad at them. Okay? Now, understandably, there's a level of loyalty that you should have as family. If someone has come in and has hurt your family members, have done something to your relatives, naturally, you're not going to be in alliance with this person. But sometimes, listen, you're just born into stuff where your mommy, your daddy, everybody's mad at these people for whatever reason, and they just expect you just gonna follow suit. And you find that happens where families are just at war because of something that happened generations before that was brought down the line. And I'm hearing the Lord saying, do not bring your family in strife. Do not bring your family in strife over something that happened well before their time. You see, the house of David and the house of Saul, there was a long and bitter war between the house of David and Saul. Why? How was there a long and bitter war between the house of David and the house of Saul? Because Saul was jealous of David. So because Saul was jealous of David and he'd been going after him, generation after generation, they picked up the spear and continued the battle. And it all began with Saul being jealous of a person that was loyal to him. But because David was being blessed and because David was able to slay more, he couldn't see that they all benefited from it. He became jealous. He started to pursue him. He went after him with all of him until he died. He cost his son's life, right? And here we are, years later, 2 Samuel 2, there's this long war that's going on. And I hear the Lord saying, there's some of you, you've been in this type of thing, and you got to break yourself out of that. Just generations of war. Some of you just come from families where there have to be something going down all the time. There's always an issue. There's always some drama. There's always sometimes whether not only just a verbal fight, but physical altercations. It just came down, and sometimes two families, your mama is mad at your auntie, and so you can't talk to your cousins because your mom is mad at her sister, and they're mad at the uncle, your uncle, their kids. So the kids pick this up, then it goes down the generation. And so your cousins have kids that your kids can't talk to because they don't know them. There's this beef, and y'all never had anything. But it's gone down from generation to generation. And so now some of you are training your kids not to talk to your cousin's kids by way who was the auntie that didn't like your mama because they sisters. Time to get up out of that, God is saying. This is not the way of God. The drama, the isms, the schisms. And some of you feel like, well, I don't have a choice. I got to take sides because if I go over here, then this is going to... God is saying to pull yourself out of that. This is not the way of God. A lot of you are walking in the footsteps of things that's happened long ago. And the truth is you're going to realize that the people that you're fighting for was wrong. Okay, they did something wrong. Saul's whole family, his generations, his sons and stuff just have a problem with David's house because of jealousy on their dad's side. But they don't know that. All they know is that this is my dad, and then all they know was my great grandfather, and this was our house, and David must have done something because my father, my grandfather, my great grand, and my dad was a king, so it had to be something Saul that David did. So it just goes on and on and on and on. And look, stir up his armies, and David's running for his life. So what's going on is strife is coming down the pipes, and God is saying it's time to step out of that. It's time to surrender that. Sometimes this stuff is just so messy There's probably no repair, but you need to know in your heart, listen, I'm done with all of this. Do what God tells you to do, whether it's to apologize or whatever. Y'all may never be friends, may never be that close, because sometimes people just used to the strife. But you do what you need to do, and you start to teach your children differently, because God is saying this thing that's going down from generation to generation to generation, it's not of God. You find some people just generation to generation, all the men die, all the men get killed, all the men, because they rambunctious, they combustible, they gotta get into something, they gotta do some ragamuffin activities. So you find men just being killed, women getting their eyes punched out, all these different things, generation to generation. In other places where you're not fighting, there is this thing that's going down. If you're in the upper echelon, there is just this strife, this war between the two names, the two families. So they're going against one another. They can't come together. They're not going to intermarry. They don't want their sons to marry your daughters. You can't do business with them, even though there may be better opportunities. Because listen, the blue blood lineage showed all the way down the line, way before you were born, there was beef and strife with the great grands and ancestors, and it just trickled down. My brothers and sisters, it's so much. There's so many relationships that's just keeping people hindered, keeping people bound and hindered, because a lot of times people are not walking in the spirit, they're walking in the flesh. And flesh says, you supposed to do this. This is your blood. You're supposed to not talk to this person. This is your company, and this is, we've always had a problem with this company, and so you have to be against the estates and all of this, and there got to be problems in the household, and brothers and sisters are hating each other, and they're doing each other in, and they're trying to cutthroat one another, and they trying to get the shares to do whatever, and who's going to be the chairman and who's not, and who do we need to get rid of, and who we need to bring in, and who we need to pull in from way back over here, because there was an actual child over here who's actually the heir to this, and you just caught up in it. Come on, brothers and sisters. Don't let this thing continue down the generations. I hear the Lord saying, clear as day, don't bring your family in strife over things that's been happening well before they were even born. Y'all don't even know the story, but you keep going into this. God is saying you need to get in his presence, seek his face, let him give you counsel, because a lot of this stuff is not something you're just going to be able to just be like, all right, I'm good. It's been going on for a long time. These are strongholds. But there's nothing that's impossible with God. And a lot of times, my brothers and sisters, what's going to happen is you're going to end up having to separate yourself, because people are so used to a certain level of toxicity. Certain people are so used to being a certain way. They have to lie. They have to cause trouble. They got to get on the phone and talk about somebody. They have to try to do the cutthroat activities. They have to go and forge the will and the signatures and things like that. They have to go get an attorney and try to get somebody who is the rightful owner and the rightful person that's supposed to get this house that came down, that was given in the will, to fight and tie up things in legal battles and matters, because this is just something they do. And some of you, I hear the Lord saying, some of y'all are in these legal battles that you have been tied up in over money and over property, and some of y'all, God is saying to let it go. Now be mindful and seek God, because this is not always for everybody. But some of you fighting and you're going through these things, my brothers and sisters. You're fighting your siblings over property. You're fighting your siblings over stuff. You were supposed to get it, but they want it. And some of them teamed up against you because they don't want you to get the house. They don't want you to get what your portion of the life insurance money. And they're doing all these things, and you're in this battle, and you're spending money, and it's going on for years, and it's going on for years. And God is saying, time to let go of that. Let them have it, because God says, I have something greater, and God wants to free you from this toxicity. Some of you are in ongoing battles with your ex. You have been divorced forever. Or you can't get divorced because guess what? You're still fighting over the sweater. You're still fighting over the property. You're still fighting over this and that. But I see God saying some of you, you're not even together anymore. But you're fighting and you're bickering over stuff. And you're reliving the moments of betrayal and everything all over again. Come on. Don't bring your kids into battles that you're having with the spouse, the ex. Just don't. If that ex and that person is being a good father, good mother, don't allow your battles between them to keep you where you're bringing the kids in it. Now, I will say, because I know that there are parents that you have the other parent is just, they're irresponsible. They do certain things. If you're that person, they've been irresponsible. They've endangered the children. Things has happened, endanger the child. Then you have to make the moves you need to make to protect that child. Okay. But I'm talking about none of that has happened. You just don't want him or her around. God is saying, don't bring your children into that. Don't bring your children into that. Don't bring your children into things because he or she has moved on and they have children and things of that nature, that now you're training your kids to hate their kids. Don't do it. Close those doors, I hear the Lord saying. Don't bring your family in strife, especially over things that does not concern them. It opens up a door of darkness and entanglements that you're going to be held responsible for. This is the word of the Lord today.